This is Garrett J. White, the authentic entrepreneur, coming at you real, raw, and relevant. And welcome to the Daily Download, or should I say, the Divine Daily Download. So here's the deal. I'm going to jump right into the download of the day. I'm going to welcome you first here on whatever method or manner you got to the download. And the important intention of this video is to share the insights of what it is to be an authentic entrepreneur every single day in my life, in the streets of what it really is to be spiritually connected to spiritual transformation in the world of financial production. So let's talk about funnels today. So I had some ideas, and I'm meeting with Bonnie Bronson tomorrow. Bonnie, what's up, girl? Tomorrow afternoon, who's going to come over to my house, and we're going to spend 3 hours together sequencing my current chaos of my business. Now, here's the thing that's interesting is I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, well, what are your funnels? Right? In your business, I started asking myself, well, what are my funnels? If you think about funnels in your business in the following way, we say, okay, if my business were a pond or an ocean, right? Or better than that, a fresh lake at the top of the Rockies versus a pond in Willard Bay, or a pond, not even Willard Bay, a pond like out in Brigham City, Utah. My grandparents owned this farm, this ranch out in Perry for years and years and years. My grandparents had passed away for years now, but I remember as a young boy, I would go to their home and we would spend time on their ranch and time on their farms, and we would go out and we'd go to these ponds. These ponds were disgusting. It was crazy, right? Because we were super pumped by them, but there was lots of bugs and tons of frogs and tons of craziness. But when we go out into these ponds, the thing that was interesting about the ponds themselves were, they weren't huge, but they were stagnant. They were stagnant. And there was moss growing on top of the surface of the pond, and there was all these weeds and these cattails. You remember them cattail things were like long, like sticks in a little foamy thing on the end and a little pokey thing at the end. I don't remember what they looked like exactly, but these cattail things in it, and these ponds themselves were stagnant. Now, there wasn't a whole lot of fish in them, maybe some bass occasionally, but not a whole lot of life, not a whole lot of sustenance, and definitely something that me as a young boy, even in my craziness as a young kid, I still don't have any desire whatsoever in my life to actually jump in the water at this place. So the aspect of a pond, though, is a pond itself is dead water because there's no fresh water coming into it, and there's no fresh water leaving it, meaning there's no flow in and there's no flow out. There's no flow in and there's no flow out. So here's what I saw in a fresh lake, though. I remember my grandfather taking me fishing with my dad. It's one of probably 5 times in my life I actually went fishing. And we went up in the Rockies, up in the Uintas, and we were fishing one weekend, and there was these fresh lakes. And the fresh lakes are totally different because the snow melts at the top of the mountains, and it feeds fresh, cold water down into these lakes. And these lakes then trickle off into these streams that go down into the valley and ultimately become here in Salt Lake, at least in Salt Lake Valley, become drinking water. The fresh lake, though, has something very different than the pond. It's not just something that enters in, but there's something that enters in and leaves. There's something that enters in and leaves. And in your business, it's really the same way. In your business, you must have funnels, but these funnels have to really speak to 2 different aspects. They have to speak to what are the funnels that bring people from the peaks of the mountains into your freshwater lake, or once they arrive, are they arriving at a pond, dead, stagnant, not moving anywhere with no access beyond the pond, or are they moving to the fresh lake and then moving through? My experience in business in the past was the fact that I was always building stagnant ponds. Build people into my marketing funnels, fill my marketing pool, stagnant. Now what I've realized is this. It's way more powerful to be a fresh lake and to be a flow through. But to do this, you have to be able to build your funnels. So Bonnie's coming over tomorrow, and we're going to work on all of my funnels. I mean, let me give you an idea of what's going on for my funnels. So I have, I think, 7 now or 8 different streams or rivers or creeks that are feeding down into this one pond. That one pond or that one lake. That lake itself feeds into a series of other lakes and ultimately becomes a consumable. So let me give you some examples. At the top then, every single Monday, I've got my weekly wake up. The weekly wake up is a free workshop or a free weekly webinar that I do. It's awesome. The weekly wake up webinar series. Fantastic, powerful, it's off the hook. Then every single day, Monday through Friday, I have what you're watching right now, which is a daily download. So I've got weeklywakeup.com. I've got divinedailydownload.com. So there's 2 streams. My third stream is on Saturdays, starting this next week, the second week or third week in April. We'll have what we call the Saturday session. The Saturday session is a weekend seminar or a weekday seminar that I've spoken at. These will be longer videos, 30 minutes to an hour and a half to 2 hours or 3 hours even, of content of me speaking, sharing, transforming the world in a workshop setting. Now, I'll either do these workshops live and or record them in my studio. So most of the time, we'll be able to post one live from an event I spoke at that week. That's a third stream. The fourth stream then is what happens on Sundays, which here in 2 weeks I'm going to launch what I call the Sacred Summary. And on Sundays is kind of a summary of the spiritual involvement of my own consciousness, my own ascension throughout the week. And I'm going to share with you some spiritual principles that I've awoken to in my life. So now these are all funnels. We'll put those aside. We got a couple other things. I've got AuthenticEntrepreneur.tv, which is my Authentic Entrepreneur TV show that happens every Friday. I've got AuthenticEntrepreneurRadio.com, broadcasting live on Wednesdays at 11 o'clock a.m. from the LATalkRadio.com. So I've got those as funnels. I've got Twitter at Garrett J. White. I've got Facebook, my Facebook fan page, which is paidtoplaytoday.com. Now, all of these are streams that feed into one particular game, and that game is Monday mornings, What Happens, and called the Weekly Wake Up Webinar. Now, these funnels are feeding into that webinar because the webinar itself is where I can get live training for everybody. All the rest of the stuff is pre-recorded, except for the radio, right? But most of the stuff you can be listening to is on-demand available. This is the only time that I'm really live. The Weekly Wake Up Webinar then is my lake, but the lake itself then flows through to what I call the Paid to Play Today program, which is the first process in which a person would pay to play with me. Beyond Pay to Play Today, then I've got Wildfire and Tsunami, which are 2 entrepreneur programs as well. I've got the Awakened Soul Purpose retreats that happen twice a year, and a series of other retreats that we're putting on, spiritual retreats, business retreats, etc., as well as some speaker training, sales training, a bunch of other programs that we're putting out. The point is, you've got to build your funnel. And once you've got your funnel, what is the funnel coming into your lake? And then what is the funnel heading out the back door? As long as there's a continual cycle of flood funnel coming in, water coming into the lake, fresh, cold, crisp, melted snow. For me, fresh content of radio, TV, blogs, Facebook pages, etc. All of this feeding to the Weekly Wake Up Webinars, which is my freshest, raw, sickest content. The Weekly Wake Up Webinars then leads into the first paid stuff for me, which is the Paid to Play Today models, and those lead into the Wildfire programs, the Tsunami programs, the Awakened Soul Purpose retreats, one-on-one mentoring, etc., and a bunch of other processes. But the funnels then are important. What is your front funnel and what is your back funnel? So your funnels really get to look like this. Your marketing funnels to your crevice here, your chalice, and then crevasse, and then your marketing or your sales funnels that go out, meaning your fulfillment funnels. So you've got this bullet in the middle, which is really your gateway, and then it filters down to the paid models that people come to play for. So just want to share with you what my funnel sequence was and how pumped I am to meet with Bonnie Bronson tomorrow to talk about my funnels and how to build everything so that my sequences are absolutely in alignment so I can create the most value for you online, as well as create the most value for myself and being able to distribute my soul purpose by providing possibilities to people's problems, by putting those into product, services, or transformational experiences upon platforms, and then executing, and as Seth Godin says, shipping it. Now, one of the topics that we use in a domain it's actually available. I told somebody, say, you need to buy the domain shiptheshit.com, right? It's like, it's kind of a crude site, but they get people's attention. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning when I'm doing this download. Should probably get some sleep. Anyways, this is Garrett J. White reminding you to come play with me at weeklywakeup.com. Would love to have you there. And at GarrettJWhite.com, always remember you can get access to all these funnels from my TV shows, my radio shows, to my blogs, to my webinar series, etc., as well as get more information about the Paid to Play programs with me and why paying to play is the most important aspect for you learning how to get paid to play. This is Garrett J. White reminding you to be real, be raw, be relevant, and most importantly, my friend, to be authentic.